makes us obese. We have high stress jobs, we have all this fast food around us, and we become couch potatoes, right? Thousands of years ago, we didn't have McDonald's, and we didn't have, TV to watch. We were hunter-gatherers. Whatever we ate, we had to find or grow or catch, right? So in our world now, you can see that as our calories in go up and our calories out go down, so we're not, expending those calories that we're putting in, we end up accumulating fat in our body. So over the period of years, we start to develop this nice little inner tube around us, okay? So, and this has a really big impact on how our health, progresses over time. And so hopefully, with your doctor at Villages Health, if you have one of us, you can have a conversation about them. Every time you come into the office, there's a BMI right on your chart. It does it automatically. So ask your doctor what your BMI is, and it's going to tell you where you need to be. Let's move on to the next one. This is an interesting slide. I wanted to show you this in particular. This slide's from the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control. And what this slide shows is obesity rates, and on the left-hand part of the slide is 2011. Now you see the green states, those are pretty good obesity rates there, 25 to 35 maybe. But you see some of the orange states and yellow states, they're kind of creeping up. But look at what happened in just 3 years. Now we've got red states where the obesity rate's over 40%, okay? If I showed you slides for children, it would be mirroring the same thing, which is kind of a sad commentary on our obesogenic world. We take our kids to fast food and they're learning from us, But you can see that we're now developing, there's not too many green states left, and if I had a slide from now, you would probably see no green states left. So also, if you kind of can picture this, the diabetes rates would follow the obesity rates, okay? So whatever you see here is really, diabetes is going to be exactly the same. It's going to show you that, in the South, we like our barbecue and we like this and that, and that's why we're turning into red states, okay? So it's important, to understand what kind of world we live in, so what can we do about it, there's lots of things, you have the availability of so much information on the internet, but how do you kind of apply that, to your overall general existence, okay? So, next slide, please. Yep. This is an interesting slide. This is from the New England Journal of Medicine, and this is a slide that tells us how much percentage contribution to premature death. Okay, so if you look at this slide, genetics, 30%. So, we can blame our parents and our grandparents on some of what happens to us. Social circumstances, that would be things like your ex-wife shooting you, those kind of things. Yeah, those kind of things. Being in the wrong place at the wrong time, unfortunately, in our world today, airports and things like that are targets for, that's where you would fit that in. Environmental exposure, that would be natural disasters and those kind of things. Healthcare, we won't talk about that, 10%. But look at the biggest contribution to premature death, okay? 40% of it is behavioral patterns. So we have an opportunity to make decisions for ourselves that propel our health forward, And I teach some obesity classes at Villages Health, and we talk about, a concept called stop, challenge, choose. So when you're trying to decide, should I eat this bowl of ice cream or not? Well, take, 2 seconds to understand, is this going to make me better or worse, So it's all about your personal decision and what you want for yourself. You have to find, a reason for wanting to move your health forward. My reason was I don't want to end up on the ventilator anymore. And I actually don't want you people to end up on a ventilator either. That wasn't a fun time. I had to learn how to walk again. That was just not a good time. Why should you end up on there if you can make some decisions for yourself that mean something? So hopefully, hopefully, over a period of time, you'll understand and, make some decisions that actually propel your health forward. Let's go on to the next slide. We talk about, did anybody ever hear the concept of eating small meals more frequently? Okay, that is, a very nice concept to understand. Our bodies were meant to metabolize things every 2 or 3 hours. How many of you will not eat breakfast, not eat lunch, and wait until dinner time because you have a big party to go to? Okay, a lot of us do that, right? We save up those calories. I'm not eating all day long, and then I'm just going to pig out when I go to whatever, the party in the evening time. That's not the right way to do things. Our body is actually meant to metabolize things every 2 to 3 hours, okay? So when you look at this slide, I call this the roller coaster, okay? So this is a typical person who's eating lots of carbs. Morning you have this orange juice and whatever else that is high in carb. What happens to your blood glucose level? That's the blue line. Shoots right up, okay? Now what does your body do in response to that? Your insulin. It shoots up insulin. Your body wants your blood sugar to stay nice and even. So now you're going to pump out a bunch of insulin to counteract that huge, glass of orange juice and whatever else you ate right at breakfast, okay? So up goes in the red line there, your insulin level. So the pump shoots on, and then your blood sugar drops. When you get down to the bottom of that curve, that's when you feel hungry again. How many of you, when you eat a Chinese meal with all the rice, 2 hours later you're hungry? Now you understand why. Because your body just pumped out a bunch of insulin, your glucose level dropped, and now you're at the bottom of there and you're hungry again, okay? So then this person ate bagel, shoot up the glucose level, there goes your insulin level again. Then they ate a big hamburger, soft drink, and probably fries, okay? And there goes your insulin level again. Then they had a candy bar in the middle of the afternoon, okay? There goes the glucose and the insulin level. So it's on this constant roller coaster, up, down, okay? Then you eat that huge meal at the end of the day, and there goes your insulin level. If you didn't know, I'm going to tell you something. Insulin is not really your friend in your body. It promotes fat storage, and it also creates inflammation in your body. So the higher that insulin level is in your body on a regular basis, the more problems that you're going to have. So if we switch to the next slide, you're going to see what I call the baby roller coaster. So this is somebody who's eating every 2 to 3 hours, but you're eating a low glycemic meal. You ever heard the term glycemic index? Okay, that means that it's not going to kick that glucose level up, and it's going to keep your insulin level down, okay? So they eat a low glycemic meal. You shoot up that blood glucose a little bit, but you can see your insulin pump barely kicked on, okay? And middle of the morning, you choose a 100-calorie, low-carb type snack, like 10 almonds or a little Greek yogurt, those kind of things. And you kicked up that glucose level just a little bit. Insulin level barely fires, okay? So throughout the day, low glycemic, low glycemic, low glycemic. So by doing that, you're keeping your blood glucose level lower, and you're hardly turning on your insulin pump. This is a much better situation, and this is where we want you to eat 5 to 6 times a day, every 2 to 3 hours. Fuel the furnace, throw some coal in the fire, okay? If you don't eat like this throughout the day, your body's metabolism, your metabolic rate actually plummets down and it stops. So the next time you eat, your body's going to say, okay, I got some calories, I got to save them. So where does it go? Right into fat storage, okay? So by taking, time to eat properly and making it low glycemic, low carb, you're going to keep that blood sugar a little bit better, and you're going to turn that insulin pump down, okay? And so hopefully this will kind of give you an idea. So if you picture the big roller coaster and the baby roller coaster, you want to be on the baby roller coaster. It's going to make you live a lot longer, okay? Let's do the next slide. Oh, that's it. Holy mackerel. That was easy. Well, I hope you understand the concept of, that roller coaster thing. That's really important, But when you're making choices, every day making choices, if you have a chance, try to do something a little better for yourself. So do you really need that donut at Dunkin' Donuts? Or maybe, well, some of us really do, but, but, if you can make a little bit of a better choice for yourself, every 2 to 3 hours eating something, and there's, lots of information on the internet, finding what does a nice 100-calorie snack look like. There's lots of things that are out there. It doesn't have to be almonds. It doesn't have to be, a Greek yogurt. It can be anything. But if you're learning to fuel that furnace every 2 to 3 hours, it's going to be important. And, the main thing is, over a period of time, this is not something that we'd expect you to do in a week, okay? Just retraining yourself, getting yourself into the habit of doing things a little bit different for yourself will make things a little bit better for you. And over a period of time, those small baby steps that you're taking towards better health will mean something big, So you really don't want to end up on the ventilator like me, So you want to be, a little bit healthier. We live in a great community, lots of stuff to do. I always tell people when I talk to people back up north, people down here live 10 years longer. We have so much more things to do. We can exercise 365 days a year outside. Okay, you have 2,000 clubs you can belong to or more. And, so not only physical health, but mental health. Okay, so why should we not take advantage of it? Why do you want to, create such, things as obesity in your body that's going to take your level of health down? So we want to change that. We want to move things in a different direction. So, we don't have to be part of that obesogenic world that I talked about. We can make better choices and, move our health forward. So, does that make sense? Okay, that's really good. If I had more time, I could talk about so many things regarding this thing, and maybe we'll talk at a different time. But, just learning that, just the roller coaster thing, that's one of those things that if you can picture that in your mind, you got it. So eating every 2 to 3 hours, small meals more frequently. You've heard that for years and years and years. Hopefully, this little illustration makes a little sense to you. Yeah. Do you have any questions? Yes, sir.
So, Doctor, after you lost the weight, how did you transition to a normal lifestyle?
So, once you learn, what is when I could talk about, some of the key or the core principles of choosing, good meals. Okay, so you've got food selection, portion sizes, and timing. We talked about the timing aspect, but you also got to think about food selection. What is lower in glycemic index? What's lower in carbs? What's higher in protein? Those are the things you should be looking for. But also portion sizes. I don't know if anybody's ever seen or talked about a 9-inch plate. You know what a 9-inch plate looks like? Okay. They're not the typical dinner plates that we get in our dinner serviceware at home. And they're certainly not the types of dishes that you get at a restaurant. Most of the restaurants feed you on these giant platters, right? And, they don't have things apportioned appropriately. So learning how to answer your question, learning how to just, on a day-to-day basis, just make good selections. Once you reach your goal weight, and just, keeping those core principles of eating every 2 to 3 hours and eating the right things, you will maintain your weight. Now we can also talk about throwing in things like exercise and other things that also are important, but really your nutrition is the key,
Let me get this. Hold on one second, Frank. Let me get this down so people at home can hear us.
Do you get junk food cravings still? And if you do, how do you overcome that?
So that's a very good question, and the answer is yes. So we still are part of that obesogenic world. So, sometimes, the candy bar is talking to you from the kitchen, or, you see something at work. We have things all the time. Yesterday, somebody brought in this giant cake. It was as big as a twin bed, seriously. And people were there hacking pieces off of that all day long. And, you smell it, you see it. It is a little bit of a mind game. You really have to understand. And so talking about, getting back to that what does it mean to you to be healthier? Do you really want to be on a ventilator in a hospital, or do you want to be, walking 5 miles on a treadmill like I did this morning? You can make those choices. And so, yeah, do I get cravings? Absolutely, especially around the holidays. I live with 2 Italian women that know how to cook and bake. And so, the holidays are always a little bit, different. But, the thing is, if you make a misstep, don't beat yourself up, okay? You're just human. But you don't have to stay there. You can get back on track right away, so don't let it become a habit again. Cultivate those good habits on a day-to-day basis rather than, the bad stuff. So, yeah, if you make, a little misstep, it's okay. Don't kill yourself, but, look at what you did and, analyze, well, why did I do that? Why did I, what was the trigger? Is it just, because you're trying to be social? Or is it that, somebody ticked you off and you're going to go eat a bowl of ice cream to prove them wrong, okay? That happens. People are very emotional eaters, and most people eat because they're either upset, nervous, or bored, okay? So change those kind of things. Understand what's motivating your behavior and move and make a different choice. That's all you got to do. I know it's easier said than done, but if you make it habitual every day, just kind of, every day, just make those choices. Eventually, your good choices become your habit. And those bad choices, it's just going to be one of those things, well, I'll go ahead and have a slice of pizza today. But it doesn't make you feel good. When I misbehave on the holidays, the next day I feel horrible. When you eat too much sugar, when you're not used to sugar anymore, you don't feel good the next day. So you have to remember that feeling and say, this really wasn't worth it. Yeah, I enjoyed that, cookie that I had, but it's just not worth it,
I actually almost forgot the question because go ahead and ask it. I'll go with it. Go ahead.
Should you even eat if you're not hungry? Because I've worked sometimes and I haven't eaten like all day because I'm just not hungry.
It's very important to cultivate that every 2 to 3 hours because there are a lot of people that get too busy. They're not paying attention. But if you start doing that on a regular basis, you'll know it's 3 hours. It's time to eat. So your body gets used to, having those good calories, those low glycemic fuelings that you're taking in. Your body gets used to that. And so it's just a matter of even if you have to set something on your watch and just understand or plan your day. When we start people on a diet program, sometimes I'll have them, ask them what time they get up. Okay, so here's your first meal, here's your second meal, here's your third meal. So understand, okay, it's 2:30, it's time to eat, okay? And you just get in that habit. And, I know some people just, they're not hungry. But, so their body's kind of used to being in that starvation mode, okay? So you've got to learn to, better nutrition, and make those choices and just get into a habit. And, it takes a long time to develop a very good habit like that. But, I know when it's 2 to 3 hours. I don't even have to look at the watch. I know because I could feel my blood sugar dropping, So once you get that and just understand. So sometimes we end up grazing, at work. Yeah. So you have a bag of whatever sitting there, or you have crackers or cookies, or you have this or that, and there's no nutritional value in what you're eating. So if you plan ahead and have healthy things for yourself, put something at your desk if you're working at a desk, and understand. Okay, I got to eat, even if it takes 5 minutes, 2 minutes. I realize some people have jobs that they don't have the opportunity to take a little bit of extra time, but sometimes that's just an excuse. Just learn, just develop those good habits.
I want to get some blood transfusion from her, so if someone can go all day without eating, I'm envious. Doctor, when you're going into your rehabilitation, as it were, how often do you weigh? What's a healthy amount of times to weigh yourself during a week?
That's a good question. When I teach or coach people on how to be healthier, we tell them, try to just do it just once a week, because there will be times where the scale stops, on a plateau, and that will tick you off because you're really behaving good and the scale's not moving, okay? So it's better to just check yourself, and you should check yourself. You should not, you should own a scale and you should check periodically, but don't drive yourself crazy. Getting on the scale 42 times a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and it's like you're tracking yourself every half hour, every 3 hours at how much weight did I lose in the last 2 hours. That is not the way to do it. Just allowing yourself once a week, this is my set time, Monday morning, get on the scale, so this is where I am right now. Because you will fluctuate up or down. If you eat too much salt one day, I'm good for that. If I ever have a hot dog, I can guarantee that I'll be up 2 pounds the next day. Guarantee it, just because of the sodium. So, don't drive yourself nuts. Once a week is more than enough. You don't need to calibrate or calculate that often. So once a week is really good.
I noticed that your wife is slimmer too. I think it's a really good thing to be sure you partner in your adventure of losing the weight, because then you can share portions and do all those things, because the size of the portions you get served, even appetizers, are enormous.
Absolutely. So, that's correct in that, having support, whether it's at home or around you, because how many people start a diet and the spouse is not on board with that? And sometimes, subconsciously, they're sabotaging you. Really, I've seen it so many times where we start somebody on a weight loss program and the husband or wife is not on board. It really makes things very difficult. So you may have to have a conversation with your spouse or friend or whatever to make them understand, I don't want to be unhealthy. I'm trying to stay healthy. I need your help. So, you don't have to force your diet plan on them. But, sometimes it's not a bad idea, to eat healthier. And, when you're doing things together, it really does help. It's a really big help. So to reiterate what you said, absolutely. Having that extra support makes a huge difference. Big difference.
What do you feel about the artificial sweeteners and so forth in a diet, as well as some of the Atkins products and products like that you can use for quick snacks? Do you think they work very well?
I think, well, I can't say for sure because I don't know all the Atkins products that they have available, but I'm assuming they're high protein, low carb, and some healthy fat, So they probably are okay. Artificial sweeteners, not always the best thing. There's so much literature out there right now that says if you're into those things, they actually make you more hungry. And so, yeah, you may be cutting your calories down, but if you're really consuming a lot of those things, it actually makes things worse for you. So, my feeling is if you can get by with less, do less. Sometimes you need it, but do as least as possible when you're trying to use the sweeteners. So we don't recommend on a really, nice structured program, 3 packets of sweetener a day is kind of where you should be. So, try to, not go over that. If you have to, it's okay. It's not the calories, but understand that the chemicals sometimes will make a little bit of a difference in your body.
I know that I struggle for breakfast in the morning. I'll eat eggs and stuff, but what do you do for breakfast type foods?
So, there's lots of different things. I do use some low glycemic, oatmeals and things like that. But so you like eggs for breakfast. How about making yourself a frittata and then splitting it up and having, some vegetables in there and cutting it up in small sections and packaging them up. So first thing in the morning, you can grab one of those things, pop it in the mic for 30 seconds, and you got something healthy. Okay. So, there's things that you can do ahead of time. Sometimes it's, if you're prepared, you're going to be more successful than if you're on the fly. If you don't have, the bad things out of the house, and if you don't have things ready to go, then it's really easy to make an excuse to run through McDonald's or Dunkin' Donuts and grab, a coffee and a bagel, or, a Egg McMuffin. Okay, so, if you're ready to go, even the day ahead of time, okay, tomorrow this is what I'm eating. So here's my snacks. I'm taking these to work with me. Here's my lunch. Here's my breakfast. Before I leave the house, let me, do something, and be ready to go. So preparation is really makes a big difference.
I've read that if you've been on a low-calorie diet for a long period of time, it may occur that your metabolism resets to a lower level.
Mm-hmm.
If that's true, how do you bring yourself back to a normal metabolic rate?
Well, how low are you talking?
1,300 to 1,500 calories for 8 months.
So the typical, good level and we would have to take some time to kind of, calculate out for you based on your age, your activity level, what a good calorie intake is for you to maintain your weight. So my guess is that if you're very active, that 12 or 1,300 calories is not enough. So looking at the schedule that I showed you, every 6 hours, you can kind of plot out, how many calories you need for the day. And then, kind of figure out, okay, so, at breakfast I need 200 calories. At mid-morning I need 100. Lunch I need 300 or 400. And just kind of, calculate out. So for every person, it's a little bit different. It just depends on, there's a lot of things that factor into that. But your age, your activity level, and if you're a guy or a girl, there is a little bit of things. And we do have, the ability to calculate, what your calorie goal should be for the day. Your total energy expenditure, we call it TEE. That's what you are. And if you want to lose some weight, then we would change that, calorie intake a little bit. But if you want to maintain, then we would shoot for a specific calorie goal based on your current, weight level, and figuring out if you're at a good BMI, which I think you are, then, you're probably, at 1,300, maybe not enough. But there can be a calculation that's made that will tell you, exactly where your calorie goal should be. And if you maintain the same activity level, you're going to maintain your weight. It's not going to go up. So it's pretty easy if you understand the science behind it.
Max weight, and after you came out of the coma, how difficult was it to start? Because I feel like starting to lose weight is the hardest part. I feel like it is.
Yeah, you really have to get a certain level of motivation. So for me, I spent almost 6 months, out of work, and I started to, get back into things slowly, and I was, doing my thing. That summer, after I came off the ventilator and out of the nursing home and all that stuff, I found the mango pineapple smoothies at McDonald's. Okay, and part of my job I was a hospice physician and at the time too on the side, and I was doing home visits, so I would zip through McDonald's and grab one of those nice little mango pineapple smoothies. Over a period of 3 months, I put on 20 or 30 pounds, just like that. After being losing 100 pounds just from being sick, and I finally the light bulb came on and say, I am heading back to the same direction. Okay, what am I doing? And I had to have this, little come to Jesus talk with myself and say, it's time. I can't let myself get back to that level because I did not enjoy that. If you ever woke up in a nursing home, and I could tell you stories about that, but it was not a fun time, and I did not want to go back. So, it's just a matter of what's motivating you. If it's because, I have a high school reunion in 4 months and I really want to be, look better and feel better, great. If you want to play on the floor with your grandchildren, but you can't because you can't even bend over to tie your shoes, there's something, If you want to, how many of you have a closet full of clothes that are, 42 different sizes because you keep buying clothes, right? Because you outgrew this one, but you're going to keep it. You're going to buy this set. You're keeping both. Then you move on to the next one. And you have 5 or 6 sizes in the closet, So you got to break that cycle. You got to say, okay, enough's enough. In my closet now, I got 1 size, And that's it. you know, but I did have it before. And I enjoyed shopping too, as my wife will tell you. I do like to buy clothes. But, you know, you just got to find some level of motivation. What's going to make things different for you?
Very informative, right?
Yes, thank you.
Don't go away.
Don't go away.
No. I just want to thank you very much for your time in this, and also for your time and all the great videos that you've helped us to produce for the website myegw.com. If you want to visit the website, you can see lots of other videos with Dr. Melidona talking about lots of different topics and things. So thank you so much. Thank you to the Village's Health for the generosity of your time. We really greatly
Oh,
appreciate
absolutely.
it. Okay.
It's a passion.
And thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
I think a couple of people might have.
Yeah,
Sure.
sure. We just had to cut off the live.